Welcome back to episode 16 of the Sleepy podcast. Today I'm going to be reading an article on Wikipedia called Alex Turner. If you do enjoy this video, remember to like and subscribe at the start, as you may be asleep by the end. For people interested in this video, I have done another episode on this channel about the Arctic monkeys themselves, which I will link in the description. If you have any ideas for topics you want to hear me talk about, please leave them in the comments and I'll almost certainly get round to them. Alexander David Turner, born 6th of January 1986, is an English musician, singer, songwriter and record producer. He is best known as the frontman and principal songwriter of the rock band Arctic Monkeys, with whom he has released 6 albums. He has also recorded with his side project The Last Shadow Puppets, and as a solo artist. When Turner was 16, he and 3 friends formed Arctic Monkeys in their native Sheffield. Their debut album, Whatever People Say I Am, That's What I'm Not, 2006, which is actually my favourite Arctic Monkeys album, became the fastest selling debut album in British history, and was ranked at number 30 on Rolling Stone's list of greatest debut albums of all time, with the single I Bet You Look Good on the Dance Floor becoming a UK number 1 hit. The band's subsequent studio albums, Favourite Worst Nightmare, Humbug, Suck It and See, AM and Tranquility Base Hotel and Casino, have experimented with desert rock, indie pop, R&B and lounge music. Arctic Monkeys headlined Glastonbury Festival in both 2007 and 2013, and performed during the 2012 London Summer Olympics ceremony. Lyricism, ranging from kitchen sink realism to surrealist wordplay, has been widely praised. Each of his 8 studio albums have topped the UK album chart. He has won 7 Brit Awards, an Ivor Novello Award and a Mercury Prize, having been nominated 6 times. Biography. Alexander David Turner was born in Sheffield on the 6th of January 1986, the only child of his secondary school teachers Penny and David Turner. He was raised in Sheffield's High Green suburb. He has said his parents have very different backgrounds. His mother, from Amersham, Buckinghamshire, taught German and was fantasized by language. His father, a Sheffield native, taught music and physics. Turner's parents were both music fans, and his earliest musical memories involved the Beatles and the Beach Boys. During long car journeys, his parents played Led Zeppelin, David Bowie, and the Eagles. His father was a fan of jazz and swing music, particularly Frank Sinatra, and had played the saxophone, trumpet, and piano in big bands. Himself was taught some scales on the family keyboard by his father, and took professional piano lessons until he was 8 years old. From the age of 5, Turner grew up alongside neighbour Matt Helders. They attended primary school, secondary school, and college together. At their primary school graduation ceremony, Turner and Helders joined some morning friends in a mime performance of Oasis' Morning Glory. Helders played the role of Liam Gallagher, while Turner pretended to play the bass guitar, using a tennis racket as an instrument. The two met Andy Nicholson in secondary school, and 3 friends bonded over their shared enjoyment of rappers such as Dr. Dre, the Wu-Tang Clan, Outkast, and Roots Manuva. They spent their time playing basketball, skateboarding, riding BMXs, and making hip-hop crap, in quotes, beats using Turner's father's Cubase system. Turner and his friends became interested in rock music following the breakthrough of the Strokes in 2001. His father let him borrow a school guitar to learn a couple of chords when Turner was 15, and for Christmas that year, his parents bought him an electric guitar. Turner was educated at Stocksbridge High School from 1997 to 2002. His form teacher, Mark Coleman, characterized him as a bright and popular student who excelled in sport rather than music. And drama teacher, Simon Baker, remembered him as a clever pupil who was quite reserved and a little different. He noted that Turner had an incredibly laid-back approach to his studies, which worried his mother and led to criticism from other teachers. While there were books at home, Turner did not read regularly, as he was too self-conscious to share his writing with others. Nonetheless, he enjoyed English lessons. Turner then attended Barnsley College from 2002 to 2004. given the opportunity to get away without doing maths. He largely opted out of the substantial subjects and required for university education. He studied for A-levels in music, technology, and media studies, as well as an AS level in English, photography, and psychology. 2002-2004, formation of Arctic Monkeys. At the age of 15, Turner's weekends involved around girls and drinking cider with his friends. Joe Carnell, a school friend, has said that Turner was always the quiet one in their social circle. After friends began forming bands and playing live, Turner, Helders, and Nicholson decided to start Arctic Monkeys in 2002. According to Nicholson, Turner had already had instruments about the house and was confident in the basics of musicianship because his father's job as a music teacher. Helders brought a drum kit, while Turner suggested that Nicholson should learn bass guitar and invited Jamie Cook, a neighbour who attended a different school, to play guitar. Initially, Turner played music with the band. He became the frontman when the two other school friends decided to sing. Helders considered Turner the obvious candidate for lyricist. I knew he had a thing for words, and he gradually began to share songs with bandmates. Before playing a live show, the band rehearsed for a year in Turner's garage, and later an unused warehouse in Rath. According to Helders' mother, who drove the teenagers to and from their rehearsal space 3 times a week, if they knew you were there, they would just stop and we had to sneak in. Their first gig was the Friday 13th of June 2003, supporting the sound local pub called The Grapes. Recorded, comprised of 4 original songs and 4 cover versions of songs by the Beatles, the White Stripes, the Undertones, and the Datsuns. In the summer of 2003, Turner played 7 gigs in New York and Liverpool as a rhythm guitarist for the funk band Julian Suki, after meeting the lead singer John McClure on a bus. That August, while recording a demo in Jordan Suki at Sheffield's Two Fly Studios, Turner asked Alan Smith if he would produce an Arctic Monkeys demo. Smith obliged and thought they definitely had something special going on. I told Alex off for singing an American voice at that session. An introduction by Smith led to the band acquiring a new management team, Jeff Barrydale and Ian Mandrew. They paid for Smith and Arctic Monkeys to record numerous 3-song demos in 2003 and 2004. Turner was quiet and observant during studio sessions. Remembered Smith, whenever anyone popped into the studio, he would sit and listen to them before he said anything. At their rehearsal room in Yellow Arch Studios, Arctic Monkeys developed a reputation as particularly hard workers. The owner lent the band touring equipment while the owner's wife helped Turner with his singing. Barrydale drove the band around venues from Scotland to the Midlands, the north of England, to establish their reputation as a live band. The band handed out free copies of their demo CD after each show, and the fans began sharing unofficial Beneath the Boardwalk demo compilation online. After finishing college in mid-2004, Turner took a year out to focus on the band, and deferred vague plans to attend university in Manchester. He began hard work and putting part-time work as a bartender at the Sheffield music venue, the Boardwalk. There he met well-known figures including Richard Hawley and poet John Cooper Clarke. By the end of 2004, Arctic Monkeys audiences were at the beginning sing-along of their songs, and the demo, I Bet You Look Good on the Dance Floor, was played on BBC Radio 1 by Zane Lowe. 2007-2005, Rise to Fame. Arctic Monkeys had national attention in early 2005. They received their first mention in the national newspaper in April, with a Daily Star reporter describing them as the most exciting band to emerge this year. They self-released an EP featuring the single Fake Tales of San Francisco in May, and commenced their first nationwide tour soon afterwards. In June, in the midst of a bidding war, Arctic Monkeys decided to sign to the independent label Domino Recording Company. After initial sessions with James Ford and Mike Crosby, they recorded an album in rural Lincolnshire with producer Jim Abbas. Turner began dating London-based student Joanna Bennett around this time. In October, the single I Bet You Look Good on the Dance Floor debuted at number 1 on the UK singles charts. Whatever People Say I Am, That's What I'm Not, Arctic Monkeys' debut album, was released in January 2006 and debuted at number 1 in the UK's album charts. Turner's lyrics of teenage nightlife in Sheffield were widely praised. The New York Times remarked, Mr. Turner's lyrics are worth waiting for, and often worth memorising too. He has an uncanny way of evoking Northern English youth culture, while neither romanticising nor sneering at it. Musically, The Guardian noted that the album influenced by guitar bands from the past 5 years. Thrillingly, their music doesn't sound apologetic for not knowing the intricacies of rock history. Fastest selling debut album in British music history, and quickly became a cultural phenomenon. Turner hailed by the British press as the voice of a generation. In interview profiles, however, he was described as a quiet and uncomfortable with attention. The band dismissed the hype, with Cook saying their goal was to be able to grow like The Clash. When they started, it was a very basic, punky record. They started to take off and move in directions. That's what we want. Less than 2 months after the album release, Turner declared that Sheffield-inspired songwriting was a closed book. We're moving on and thinking about different things. Years later, Turner said that the attention during this period made him a bit frightened or nervous. We shut out a lot of people, just to try to keep some sort of control. The band turned down many promotional opportunities, and quickly released new material. A 5-track EP, Who the Fuck Are Arctic Monkeys, in April with the standalone single, Leave Before the Lights Come On in August. That summer, the band made a decision to permanently replace Nicholson, who had taken a touring break due to fatigue, with Nick O'Malley, another childhood friend. Nicholson was informed at a band meeting during which Al did the speaking. Turner and Nicholson stopped speaking for 2 years, but later repaired their friendship. I decided to move on a little bit, as all that section was mostly about the Arctic Monkeys and not Turner himself, so I'm moving on to the artistry section under influences. Turner was into hip-hop in a big way, as a teenager. When he first started writing music, Rootsman Over's Run Come Save Me was his main influence. He also listened to the Raucous Records and Lyricist Lounge compilations, artists such as Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Outkast, Eminem, and The Streets. He has repeatedly cited Method Man as one of his favourite lyricists, and has referenced Wu-Tang Clan in his own lyrics. For Turner, the Strokes were that one band that comes along when you're 14 and 15 and manages to hit you in the right way and changes your whole perception of things. He changed his style of dress and began to take an interest in guitar music. He has since referenced the band in his own lyrics. The Vines were the first band that Turner ever saw live at Craig Nicholls, provided inspiration in his early stage persona. Other early guitar influences were the Libertines, the Coral, the Hives, and the White Stripes. In his late teens, Turner began delving into older music and discovered lyricists such as Elvis Costello, Ray Davies, The Kinks, Jarvis Cocker of Pulp, Paul Weller of Jam, and Morrissey of The Smiths. Turner has since performed with Jack White of the White Stripes and Johnny Marr of The Smiths. John Cooper Clarke, whose poetry turned the encounter of school was a massive source of early inspiration. Turner was working as a barman in the Boardwalk in Sheffield in late 2004 when Clarke appeared on stage as the opening act of The Fall. The performance made a big impression on the 18-year-old. He's talking at 100 miles an hour and he's really funny. It just blew my mind. He was inspired by Clarke's use of a regional accent, and the early Arctic Monkeys song, From the Rich to the Rubble, was his homage to Clarke's style. My best shot at it, at least, he said. Blow, Jake Thackeray, Nick Cave, John Cale, and Leonard Cohen, and Bob Dylan are among the lyricists Turner admires. He has spoken of his respective country music writers such as Roger Miller, Willie Nelson, and Hank Williams. He has been to the dawn of artists reinvented themselves throughout their careers. The Beatles and David Bowie are big ones. When performing with the Last Shadow Puppets in 2007, Turner was inspired by the music of Bowie, Scott Walker, Serge Gainsbourg, David Axelrod, and Ennio Morricone. Songs that Turner has discussed repeatedly in interviews are Michael Chapman's You Say, Leon Russell's A Song for You, and Dion's Only You Know, describing the latter as one of my favourite tunes of all time. In 2007, he told Q magazine that he's a huge Beyoncé Knowles fan. Songwriting. Kate Mossman of The New Statesman described Turner as one of the great lyricists of the 21st century, writing that his songs are full of lovely, extended metaphors and modern Morrissey-style observations. Mike Laws of The Village Voice characterised him as a writer without peer individuality of rock, and identified rapid-fire, facility, and internal rhyme. And Turner's trademark Simon Armitage writing in The Guardian said, of all those writing lyrics today, Turner is among the most poetic. His use of internal rhyme exists and admired and envied. Turner is a storyteller and a scene setter. Like all the British lyricists, be it Noel Coward or Morrissey, Turner has always been willing to risk a delicious irony or witty turn of phrase, even in a sad song. Kitty Empire of the Observer considers him probably the finest lyricist of a generation. In the early years of his career, Turner performed in a strong Sheffield dialect. Simon Armitage remarked, "I can't think of another singer whose region identity has become so unapologetically, and naturally in tone through his singing voice." Although personally I disagree with that and say Jarvis Cocker, also from Sheffield, also sang very unapologetically in his accent. By 2018, Tranquility Base Hotel and Casino, Alex Pedris of The Guardian noted, "The Yorkshire dialect was once his USP and is now deployed sparring as a jolting effect." One critic claimed that the tone of Turner's voice had also transformed over time from a fidgety whine to a sort of worn-in baritone croon. Discography. As a solo artist, Turner released Submarine in 2011 for the film Submarine, which I think is directed by Rich Dayawadi. In the Arctic Monkeys, they released Whatever People Say and That's What I'm Not, 2006, Favorite Worst Nightmare, 2007, Humbug, 2009, Suck It and See, 2011, AM, 2013, Tranquility Base Hotel and Casino, 2018, The Last Shadow Puppets, The Age of the Understatement, 2008, Everything You've Come to Expect, 2016. His other collaborations include Dizzy Rascals, Maths and English, Matt Helder's The Late Night Tales, Miles Kane, Colour of the Trap, Miles Kane, My First Time, Miles Kane, Don't Forget Who You Are, Queens of the Stone Age Like Clockwork, Many Mansions, The Great Pretenders, Alexandra Saviour, True Detective, and Alexandra Saviour again in Belladonna of Sadness. Also in 2007, he was on Reverend and the Makers' The State of Things. He was a writer and vocalist on The Machine, and co-writer on He Said He Loved Me and Armchair Detective. Now, this is me adding something to it, but I was told by someone in a pub in London, so I take this with a pinch of salt, that the man on the cover of the Whatever People Say I'm Not What I'm Not album is actually the cousin of one of Reverend and the Makers. I'm not sure whether that's true, but if it is true, it's quite a fun fact, and if it's not true, if you know, leave it in the comments. But anyway, I am going to have to leave this video here, as I should be at work right now. But if you are still asleep, like I said, there is another video on Arctic Monkeys, and I think 16 other videos on my channel that you can listen to. So thank you for listening, and if you're still awake, good night.